Welcome, welcome. Happy Saturday. My name is Peter No, Senior Presidential Director here with LifeWave. Welcome everyone to our Saturday's Doctors webinar. We have two special presenters today. I have my awesome partner, Mr. Savi Vargas, who has been in the industry for quite a bit, been in the nutrition world and the physical therapy world for many decades. Very well versed in anything you need to know about health. He will be our host today, also with our very own Dr. John Harmon, who's been a chiropractor for 30 years, board certified in quantitative EEG and neurofeedback, founder and president of Clear Mind Center of Idaho, where we help people get their brains right from left to right, right to left. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Mr. Savi Vargas. Savi, how are you doing today?
Good, Peter. Thank you for that introduction. Appreciate you as always. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We're going to do our best to add some value today. I'm going to be talking about the carnosine patch, and then Dr. Harmon is going to go into his part, and it's going to be a little more sciencey, right? But hopefully it's something new that you have not heard before. And if it has been something you have heard before, then it's good to have the reminders, right? So I guess I'm going to start it. I'm going to do a slide presentation. We put these slides together pretty fast within the last 2 days. I'm going to take about 15, 20 minutes, and then we're going to hand it over to Dr. Harmon. So today is the carnosine patch, okay? So let me share screen. And we're going to get right into this slideshow. Okay. All right. Let's see. You going to admit those people? Okay. All right, here's our slideshow. The healing power of carnosine. First, we have a disclaimer. We always have to do that. This information is for educational purposes only. This discussion is not meant to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. The statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. If you have a medical condition, pregnant, nursing, or taking medication, please consult with your doctor first, okay? So we always have to do that and get that out of the way. That said, the title is The Healing Power of Carnosine. And I just want to tell everybody, we have the X39, right? Nobody else on the planet has that. So we have a monopoly on that. And most of us here have built our businesses around the X39. But I just want to tell you, David Schmidt is Mr. Anti-Aging, right? This fellow, you've heard him say with his own mouth, he wants to live to be at least 500 years old. I want to tell you that these other patches that we have are amazing as well. And if you want to increase your volume in your business without even adding more people, then the more you learn about these other patches, the more you can do that. Because all of us need to be using these other patches as well. And you're going to see today with the carnosine patch. Okay, so the role of carnosine in the body, it is a vital protein building block. That said, it is basically a dipeptide. So when we talk about X39, we're talking about a tripeptide, 3 amino acids bonded with copper. The carnosine patch is a dipeptide, 2 amino acids, okay? Now, I want you to think about something real quick. A lot of people don't really understand amino acids and protein, the difference. So let's just use the analogy of a person eats a ribeye steak. So when you eat a ribeye steak, that is a complex protein. When that lands in the stomach, your pH there is a 2, 2.5, it's very hot. The body has to break things down into simple forms before it can be absorbed. And so here with our team, we keep everything simple, right, and easy, so anybody can do our business. The body does the same thing with nutrients. So when you eat steak, that's a complex protein. The body breaks that down into what's called polypeptides, mini peptides, okay? From there, it brings it down to single peptides individually. From there, you go down to amino acids. Then you absorb that. So technically, you don't really absorb protein, you absorb amino acids, all right? Because if you have protein from steak in your blood, you have problems because that is now foreign DNA in your bloodstream, and you can get what they call autoimmune disease, okay? So what we have here is a dipeptide, 2, all right? And there they are, beta-alanine and histidine. Now, per David Schmidt, he has called carnosine the most anti-glycation nutrient on Earth, on the planet Earth. He also calls it the miracle nutrient and a super anti-aging nutrient. So this is going to be part of us getting younger. Okay, we have the X39 and we have the carnosine is also anti-aging. Okay, now glycation. Let me share with you what that is. So glycation in the body is when you have protein molecules binding with sugar molecules, and it creates a sticky plaquing, and then it's oxidized. And oxidation, if you remember, is when you, for example, cut the apple and it browns. It's a rusting effect. The human body can also rust that way. That's called oxidation, hence we have antioxidants. So glycation is a gummy, sticky plaquing that can occur in the body. And if it happens, say, for example, in the brain, it can lead to dementias, Alzheimer's, etc. All right? So carnosine prevents that from happening. Or if it's already there, it helps move it out. All right? So it's extremely important for that. All right. Carnosine also chelates out heavy metals. How important is that? A lot of us that are a little bit older in our lives, we had mercury fillings in our teeth from the dentist industry, okay? The second most toxic metal on earth, they're sticking it in our mouth, okay? And that goes on even today. So if you've had that, get them taken out safely, and you can use something like carnosine to chelate out heavy metals, especially aluminum. And how many people are drinking out of aluminum cans? You might want to rethink that. All right, then boost mitochondria function in the cell. Also mitochondria dysfunction. It takes care of that. Mitochondria are the little factories that create energy in our cells, ATP energy. It boosts that. The brain and the heart are energy hogs of the body. So the brain by itself is using 20% of the body's energy. All right. So it's good to boost that energy factory of the brain while we clean it of heavy metals. Heavy metals and the glycation together can lead to horrible things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, etc. All right. So again, that's a little redundant there. Removes amyloid plaque from glycation out of the brain. All right, now, oxidation, for example, occurring in the arteries, oxidation occurring, for example, in the pancreas with the beta cells, that can lead to diabetes. Carnosine is good for all of that. Glutamates. Glutamates are, for example, in, say, some foods, they put MSG. That is a glutamate. That is an excitotoxin to the brain and can actually lead to, in some cases, seizures. Now, my brother, Michael, has in his life developed seizures. So I have sent him the carnosine patches. And of course, we're doing other things for him because he has what are called absent seizures where he doesn't have a fit. He doesn't fall on the floor and have a fit, but he does just go away. And so a lot of that has to do with heavy metals and probably also amyloid plaque. Again, per David, carnosine, the most powerful anti-glycation nutrient ever discovered. We talked about the brain using up 20% of the body's energy. We also have the heart muscle. The heart muscle cells are called myocytes. Hence, the human heart has more mitochondria cells, more mitochondria than any place in the human body, especially when you consider we're pumping over 100,000 times a day with our heart. Amazing. Carnosine regulates calcium levels. Calcium is critical to contraction of muscles. Hence, having regulated calcium for the heart is going to be a big deal. And of course, you have to have calcium. It's an electrolyte for the nervous system. So you got to have it for both of those. Again, oxidation of cholesterol. So depending on what doctor you're listening to, I'm going to use as an example, Dr. Glidden and Dr. Wallach. If you talk to them about cholesterol, they're going to tell you that there are not two cholesterols, there's only one cholesterol. And the one that they consider the bad one, LDL, is just oxidized. Again, rusted, thickened, plaquened up, okay? So depends on who you listen to, but Dr. Wallach and Dr. Glidden say there's only one cholesterol, the so-called bad one is oxidized. All right, telomeres. Telomeres, of course, are the end caps on our chromosomes. And the way the science runs with telomeres is the longer the telomere, the longer you live. All right. And so like everything else in our body, everything is getting hit with free radical damage and oxidation every day, millions of hits a day. And if your telomeres are shortening or being damaged, carnosine can help to reduce that damage. And here's where you get into the science and the art of stacking our patches. This could be a real art form to stack patches. You know, for health conditions, as an example, our glutathione patch also reduces damage and repairs the end caps of telomeres. So imagine if you've got X39, you've got carnosine, and you've got glutathione stacked, okay? It's going to keep your telomeres young and healthy. And there are plenty of studies stating that the more glutathione you have in your body, the longer you live, and also the less heavy metals you have in your body. So that's a stacking idea. Now, we've got the brain, we've got the heart, and we have skeletal muscle. So another part of us staying young is, of course, movement, exercise. You don't have to be a bodybuilder. You don't even have to lift weights technically. You could just do body weight exercises, squats, push-ups, yoga, Pilates, etc. Whatever you do for your movement, you have to do something. And with that, carnosine comes into play. Even if you're an elite athlete, it helps to reduce muscle loss, increase muscle strength, stamina, okay, muscle endurance. And of course, as with all the patches, with all the clinical studies they do on our patches, everybody has to stay very well hydrated, because technically muscles are like bags of water, and your electrolyte system, everything works better when you're more hydrated. Technically, they would say half your body weight in ounces, all right? There's an entire study out there called "You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty," because we are 70% water, not 70% Mountain Dew, not 70% alcohol, not 70% coffee and tea. We are 70% water. So we want to stay hydrated, all right? Now, when you exercise, you produce what's called lactic acid, right? And this is why you get sore. That's why the muscles get sore. Carnosine helps to alleviate that as well. We have a lot of studies right there on the website. You go to the website, look up your clinical evidence, it's all there, and it's all amazing. So we have all of these studies. carnosine increases flexibility, balance, strength, endurance. And I mean very fast too. This isn't slow, this is very fast. Increases range as high as 125% for strength and endurance, 30% flexibility, 100% for balance. And I will tell you, as people get older, 60s, 70s, 80s, they start to lose their balance. And I can't tell you how many people, older women, especially women, that fall and break their hips. And these women that fall and break their hips, about 73% of those women are dead within a year. It's extremely important to keep your balance as you age, okay? And here, as you see, 100% improvement in balance. All right, there's the lactic acid I mentioned right there earlier. Now, how do you get carnosine in your diet? Well, it's mainly from meat and fish. So if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, it could be a little more difficult. That said, quinoa, hemp seeds, chia seeds, buckwheat, there are ways that you can mix plant-based diet and still get your carnosine, because the truth is I believe it's histidine, one of the amino acids, is an essential amino, meaning the body can't make it. You have to get it from your diet. So just like with X39, GHK copper peptides. Copper is a trace mineral. You have to have copper in your diet. So some of these people that they're not getting results that fast or not that great, you have to look at the diet though. Okay, so the patches are amazing, but we still have to have our diet. So same thing here. It's mainly found in meat and fish. You can do it with plant-based diet, but you have to combine correctly. All right. Now, if you want to supplement, of course, you want to supplement with powder if you can. It's more absorbable that way. You know, a lot of people have gut problems these days. They don't absorb very well. So the beauty of our patches is we have light. We have light. We bypass the GI tract. We don't have to worry about absorption rates because we're using light, right? So if you're going to supplement, though, try to go with powders. And I believe it's between 1,000 and 3,000 milligrams a day is about right for that, okay? As you can see here, our technology goes to work within 24 hours. Here is some ideas on patching placement. Conception vessel 17 right there on the sternum, just above solar plexus. Behind the neck, as you can see, on the hand, typically on the right hand, and then as you can see here on the low back. These are some areas. Now, when you get these people that say they use it on the sternum, I did a Zoom earlier today, and the lady said, when I use it below the navel, I got a little rash. I said, really? What about behind the neck? No rash there. What about on the wrist? No rash there. Well, what is located in your body below the navel? Gut tissue. Your gut is there, right? Could it be it's not the patch doing it, it is your own toxicity doing it? So move it around. If you're not getting what you think are great benefits in this place, move it to the other place, because you could have block meridians there in Chinese medicine. Move it around. It could be on the sternum on Monday. On Tuesday, it might be behind the neck. So move it around. That's all you got to do. Okay, stay tuned. More to come, right? So that is my little thing here on the carnosine patch. I hope that it brought you some kind of value, maybe something new. If not, maybe a good reminder. But that's what I've got so far. Go to the site and look up some of these studies. It's amazing. The carnosine patch is extremely good also for organ function. So on and on we go. We have something special with our patches, and there is an art to stacking them, using them with other patches, okay? So with that said, I'm gonna give it to the one and only Dr. Harmon.
Well, thank you very much. And I want to thank Savvy for the, the introduction earlier. I got a little froggy in my throat today, probably from so much sleeping. I had some dental work done yesterday, and my dentist is a holistic dentist, and he instead of giving me, conscious sedation with the traditional stuff, he gives me melatonin and Xanax. 100 milligrams of melatonin, and I think I slept most of the day yesterday. Excuse me. So if I clear my voice a little bit, that might have something to do with it. But I'm really glad to be on here today. I have put a lot of thought into how I can help people understand a few concepts, one of which I'm sure each and every one of you has encountered. And that is why some people respond a little bit slowly or seemingly badly to the X39. I want you to know that someone doesn't respond poorly. Someone is responding appropriately to what they are dealing with at that current time. And I hope after I'm finished with this presentation that you really understand, and that you'll be better equipped to help people through that seemingly terrible time. I've heard people, I've been doing this for now 10 months, and I hear a common refrain once in a while where people, they put a patch on, and I read something that somebody got like an immediate rash. That Savvy just mentioned something, and what could that possibly be? So I'm going to give you some arsenal this afternoon to really give people. I mentioned that I keep hearing this, repeatedly, these stories, and I think, I have more information, but for fear of seeming to be self-promoting, I kind of held back. I can't hold back anymore, and I'm going to tell you some of the things that I know, some of the ways that I can help people. I'm not looking for another job. I have a full-time practice, well, not full-time now, but it seems like it's full-time, plus really busy in LifeWave. So I want to share the screen here. Hope that you I can do it. I have some slides, and I want you to know, as you know, this is recorded, so you can go back and look at this again. It's not my intention to baffle and confuse. I really want people to understand this. And if you need to go back and review it, some of these terms we're going to go over. I give the definitions, but still they're kind of new. But I titled it "Digging Deeper: The Complexity of Making Health Improvements in the Very Sick with LifeWave Patches." Some people, as you know, are going to have life-changing benefits in just a few days using the patches. Other people, it's a little frustrating. Here's my contact information. Write it down if you want to get in touch with me. If you have somebody who is really, really sick, not responding, feel free to give them my email, and I can maybe point them in the right direction, or give them some advice. I'm going to give this again towards the end if you don't have this down, and this is a recording. Digging deeper. Why do people respond differently to the patches? Excuse me. First of all, I want to establish some facts as we get going. The patches work. That's number one. And somebody texted me, and I'm going to make sure that it's not something let's see. Okay. Number one, the patches work. Number two, the X39 elevates the GHK copper peptide. That's the scientific way they write it, GHK-Cu. That's the word, the element symbol for copper. How do we know that? Well, LifeWave had to prove to the US Patent Office that that's what it does. It elevates the GHK copper peptide. A whole cascade of events happen when you elevate the GHK copper peptide. that leads me to number 4, stem cells, excuse me, number 3, the GHK copper elevates stem cell production. How do we know that? That's a well-known established fact. You can look that up. A lot of different websites talk about the GHK and that it elevates the stem cell production. Dr. Lauren Picard, who discovered the GHK copper peptide in 1973, talks a lot about that on his website, and I recommend that you go to that, reverseagingwithghk.com. Number 4, stem cells help repair and regenerate. I wanted to establish those right up front. Anybody who's listening to this for the first time, those are well-established facts. In fact, when LifeWave proved to the FDA, not the FDA, the US Patent Office, that wearing the patch elevates the GHK copper peptide, they also found the appearance of amino acids in the bloodstream that only appear when there's an increase in stem cell activity. So just know those are established facts. Questions you should have already asked someone when you are giving them some patches. Number 1, what is your diet like? Do you eat from a box or a bag? If so, you have poor nutrition. That's a given. Do you take minerals? If that person does not, they're most likely deficient in minerals, especially magnesium. The plants that are grown nowadays cannot get magnesium out of the soil because of artificial fertilizers and also glyphosate. So there's not enough magnesium in our food, so we need to supplement. I'm going to show you right where that is in just a few minutes. Do you eat mostly organic foods? At least 95% organic foods. If not, glyphosate. And I'm going to explain what glyphosate is in just a moment as well. And how much water do you drink? The patches work with light and on the acupuncture meridians, and that is dependent upon those are the electric channels, the energetic channels that go throughout our body, and they're dependent upon the availability of water and the presence of water. Terms and definitions, excuse me, mitochondria. For those of you who are not familiar with that, those are the powerhouses of the cell. They basically make the gas, the gasoline, the energy for cells to operate. Pathogens, what's eating you? Bacteria, viruses, parasites, mold. Those are things that can live on and in our body, and they don't want to kill us. They just want to live off of us. And we make great hosts because our bodies sometimes just accommodate them after a while, and we live in, I wouldn't say happy coexistence, but we're cohabitating. ATP, that's the energy produced by the mitochondria. That stands for adenosine triphosphate. We'll just call it ATP. That stands for gas to run the show. Apoptosis, for those of you who've tuned into the training Savvy and I do, you know what this is. For those of you who have not heard this is a new term. Our bodies intentionally kill off 50 to 70 billion cells every day. 50 to 70 billion because they're sick, they're dying, they're under functioning, and the body scans and tags them for destruction. That's called apoptosis. If a cell gets sick enough, the body will destroy it. Excuse me. Krebs cycle. That is the cycle inside of our mitochondria in which amino acids, carbohydrates, and fats go. They go into, and I'm going to show you this, the whole cycle. They go into this little cycle, and then they're acted upon by the mitochondria, and then out at the bottom comes ATP. So that is that cycle. Here's the Krebs cycle. Now, don't get perplexed looking at this thing. It's like, it can be overwhelming. We're not going to make you memorize this right now, but I just want to show you something right here. Let me get a little marker, a little highlighter. Okay, so right here we have, somebody's got to be admitted in. We have right there proteins. Right here we have carbohydrates, and then we have fats up here. And then they all go in right here. And now at the bottom comes ATP. Now, I'm going to show you in a minute, and all of these have to be acted upon by other things in order to get energy out the bottom. So just know this is where the things go after they're digested down to, it says proteins, but actually they have to be converted into amino acids. Carbohydrates have to be converted to glucose first. Fats have to be broken down into the smallest components. A little side note here, if you don't have a gallbladder, you're not going to be absorbing fats, and you're not going to be absorbing vitamins A, D, E, and K, because those are fat soluble. So you need to be taking some bile acid with every meal in order to get this, or you're going to be deficient. Okay, so that's the Krebs cycle. And I'm going to refer back to that in a minute. Just know that each one of these steps can be blocked by toxins or by pathogens that we're going to talk about. I also want to introduce this term to you, the drainage funnel. Our cells have to eat, and they also have to poop. Sorry, but they have to get rid of toxins. They have to get rid of those as byproducts of things. We get what we need, and then we turn it into something we don't need, and we have to get rid of that. Our cells, our organs and tissues, our lymphatic tissue, our liver and bile ducts, this is the drainage funnel. And then down here at the colon, this is the bottom of the funnel. If you're talking to somebody and you give them some patches, you need to ask them how many times a day they're eliminating. Otherwise, everything backs up. It's going to back up clear into their cells, and they're not going to be capable of really making new stem cells if their mitochondria don't have enough energy to do that. And I'll explain that. So just know, when I talk about the drainage funnel, this is it. Down here at the bottom is the colon, and you can't be stopped up and not be toxic. My good friend here in town who has a colonic place will tell me all about that. Mitochondria, they're the powerhouses of the cells, big, strong dudes. That's what you want. Look like an elongated tic tac. Our body, each cell has thousands of them. And Savvy talked about the heart. It has a high demand for energy production, obviously. They have a lot more than muscle cells do. What are common causes of mitochondrial dysfunction? After all, it comes down to the mitochondria. You hear a lot of buzzwords now. You hear mitochondrial dysfunction. My mitochondria aren't working. You're going to know what causes that by the time I'm finished. What are the common causes of mitochondrial dysfunction? Researchers are finding that most chronic diseases are caused by long-term exposure to viruses, bacteria, fungus, and parasites. And then the immune system collapses. So take a look at this right here. This is actually a link. If I click on this, it's going to take us to PubMed. And I just typed in the word, can viruses cause cancer? There's all kinds of information in there about long-term exposure to viruses. Here's another thing. Most people who have MS have really high titers of Epstein-Barr. They have Epstein-Barr living in their brain. Herpes simplex 1, just the cold sore virus, can live in your brain and you don't know it until you get necrotizing encephalitis. Long-term exposure, the immune system collapses, it can't fight anymore. And now it's not the virus or toxin itself, it's not the virus or the bacteria or the fungus or the mold or the parasite, it's actually the metabolites or the things that they make as they're eating and existing. You know, parasites can make ammonia. Ammonia can cause tingling and numbness. You know, that's one of the symptoms of MS, tingling and numbness. So keep that in mind. Excuse me. So there's pathogen load and there's toxic load. We're going to go into detail about both of those. Pathogens, parasites, they want to live off you but not kill you. Viruses, retroviruses can go straight into the cell and kind of bypass the immune system. Let's talk about Hep C. You can have hepatitis C for 20 or 30 years and you don't know it until you show up with cirrhosis of the liver, because then they're hiding and your immune system can't see them. Bacteria, acute infection can kill you, but can also become chronic. I happen to have some personal experience with this. Going back to 2017, I went in for a root canal. I think it was done inappropriately. The dentist went a little too deep, seeded my bloodstream with bacteria, and it ended up going into my wrist and destroyed all the cartilage in my wrist. It was a staph infection because it introduced something my immune system wasn't prepared, and then it became overwhelmed and overloaded. And it's not, I mean, those things can, you think you don't know, you don't have an experience with that, and then all of a sudden, you know, because it's pretty healthy, and then all of a sudden it has to do with the amount and the your immune system's ability to fight it, and it wasn't at that time. And I want to show you also the mold and fungus, candida, black mold. Toxins we have not, that we have now that we did not have 60 years ago. Glyphosate. If you haven't heard that term, I'm sure you've heard of Roundup. That is sprayed on crops, on Roundup ready GMO crops. It is to prevent it's to kill weeds, excuse me, but the plants are engineered so they don't die when Roundup is sprayed on them. You can't get that out of the food, and then they harvest it and then we eat it. It downregulates 291 enzymes in our body. Downregulate means it makes them work less. Upregulate would be making something work more. Downregulates means that they don't work as great. 291 in our body. Excuse me. Pesticides, our body has to detox it or store pesticides. Poor diet from a box or a bag. There are all kinds of things in there that aren't even food. And you read them, you can't even understand what they mean. It's a chemical name. And you go, well, it looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and eat it. Heavy metals, mercury in amalgams, mercury and aluminum in vaccines and other sources. Excuse me. Cosmetics. Women use about twice as many cosmetics as men. There are more than 160 ingredients. Many of them are toxic. The good news is, you know, they've studied on, you know, how many products that women use opposed to men. But the good news is men were found to actually use deodorant and toothpaste. So there is a silver lining in that. Indoor air pollution, outgassing from products in the home, formaldehyde from, you know, sofas and carpets and different things. The Environmental Working Group, EWG.org, they tested the blood of 10 Americans for toxins in 2004 and found 287 toxins just in these 10 people. 212 of those were banned 30 years before they did the test in 2004. There were 28 waste byproducts, 47 consumer product ingredients. Where did they get the toxins? What they found is they did not get them from their food. They did not get them from anything they were drinking. They were not farmers. They did not work in factories. They did not work around toxic chemicals in any way. Who are these people? The only thing they knew about all of these people is that they all looked like this. It was the very first time fetal blood was tested for toxins. So why am I telling you this? We all are exposed to these toxins, and we are exposed from the womb on. So we all need to be concerned about detoxing. Now, this also has to do with people that we give the X39 to. We don't know what they've been exposed to. Sometimes they don't even know. Obviously, if it happened in the womb, they don't know what they've been exposed to. So do the patches work? We know the patches work, but there are things that the success is dependent upon that we're talking about now. Here's their website. The video is called 10 Americans. I highly recommend going to that site and watching the entire video. So how does this, I've got the Krebs cycle up here again. I'm sorry, but I have to show you this. We talk about magnesium, and I want to show you where it is and why it's so important. Look at this. Here's magnesium. Magnesium. If you look across, look right here. Here's magnesium. Here's magnesium. Here's magnesium. Whoops, I kind of colored it in. There's another one over here. Yep, right there. There's magnesium. Magnesium is all through this Krebs cycle. It's needed in all of these pathways. So that's why we talk about that so much if you're deficient in magnesium. The other thing I wanted to tell you, if sometimes these toxins can resemble some of the things that we need, but they aren't that thing to make these chemical reactions happen. Let's say that you had a blockage right here, and this substance can't get converted to this substance because you're missing something. You don't have the proper nutrition, or you have a toxin that's simply blocking it, or you have a pathogen, you have a bunch of retroviruses inside of there, and they're blocking that pathway. Well, it can't go on. So traditionally what's happened is therapists, nutritionists, they'll give you really high doses in that vitamin to kind of overcome the blockage. So now you're dependent, you got to take that high dose of that vitamin or that nutrient in order just to function. And then what happens is you go on vacation, you go, oh, I forgot my vitamins. And after 3 or 4 days, you're a mess because you're dependent upon high doses of those nutrients. My focus has been, well, let's get rid of the blockages so that this thing can just work. And that's always made sense to me, because you want to make down here ATP. That's the energy that makes it go. Or nutritionists, you got a high viral load. Let's give you all these herbs so that we can kill the viruses. And I'll show you why that's not always the answer as well. All right, enough of that geeky stuff. No more Krebs cycle. We're done with the Krebs cycle. So here's the takeaway from the Krebs cycle. If you have toxins that are blocking certain pathways and preventing the mitochondria from making energy, how are we going to have enough energy to detox or make new stem cells? If we're barely making it as we are, and now here's this thing, and now I have to detox, and now I have to make new stuff, and I don't even have enough energy to make my own stuff and fix my own cells. That's the question I'm posing right now. If you have a crappy, deficient diet with the standard American diet, how in the world do you expect your body to get well with or without the X39? So we have the tendency, we get really excited when we want to help people and they're really sick, and they're not eating well, they're smoking, they're drinking a lot, or they have a really poor lifestyle, an unhealthy lifestyle, and we give them the patches and they don't have a miraculous healing, and we get discouraged. Just know that it's not the patches. If you have pathogens living inside of your cells, making their toxic waste and blocking pathways in your mitochondria, How are you supposed to ramp up the system to make new stem cells or detox right away without extra ATP? Kind of already talked about that. The cells, the body chooses surviving when it does not have everything needed to be perfect. So today I can't do the dishes, and tomorrow I can't vacuum, and the next day I can't take out the trash. My house is not going to be the best place to live, but at least we have food on the table. So this is kind of a diagram about it. Your cells, with everything they need, they'll be healthy while living. If they don't have it, they'll just survive with poor health. This little graph kind of tells a bit the story. Low pathogen and toxic load, full energy production in our mitochondria. The more pathogens and toxins we have inside of our cells and our mitochondria, the less energy we can make. Here's another one. Let's go through this. Tired cells, low mitochondrial function. Person has low energy. Cells can't be perfect. The cell can't detox. Cell damage occurs. Can't repair. Goes into survival mode. Toxins get stored in the fat, in the liver, the kidneys, the brain. More damage occurs, and that leads to death, eventual death of our cells slowly, but they're really dysfunctional on the way to being eliminated through that process called apoptosis. So this could be the reason why some people either respond poorly or take a very long time to respond, because they're already just barely making it with the energy that their mitochondria are making currently. Some people don't even have enough energy to dress themselves or to digest their food. How are they going to do that? Their cells are already in the state of just surviving. Chronic disease doesn't happen until the immune system collapses. It's rarely just one factor that causes that system to collapse. The immune system collapses when it cannot handle what it is trying to contain. How long can a cell neglect functions and repair to just survive before apoptosis occurs? That's what these sick, these really sick people are faced with. When a person starts using an X39, are they going to get the raw materials to repair? What's their load when you give it to them? So what are some common causes of pathogens that cause so many problems, or so many pathogens? We live in America, so we can't possibly have parasites, right? Here are some of the ones that we have here in America. I remember as a kid having these strongyloides. These can actually cause chronic sinusitis, and it leads to a weakened immune system in your sinuses, and that person will go in and out of sinus infections. They'll get bacterial infections as a side effect or as a consequence of having a compromised immune system in there. Giardia over here on the lower right, Entamoeba histolytica, you get that from pond water. This is the mouth of a hookworm up here. This is Borrelia. Those are, spirochetes. They look like a spiral, and they can just, like a cork screw, just burrow into any cell really throughout your body. Here's the interesting thing, and we're getting into kind of the meat of it right now. When we have parasites, we can have an increased viral load in our body. Now go with me here for a second. Parasites are those things I just showed you on the screen. What do viruses, an increase in viruses, shingles, cytomegalovirus, Epstein-Barr, that's the chronic fatigue is what that causes. Why do people have an increase in these viruses? Why do people have parasites have this increased viral load? Here's why. When you get a parasite infection, this T2 right here means T2 helper cells. They're just a type of cell that fights parasites. Just know that. We have cells that fight parasites, we have cells that fight viruses. When we have a viral infection, our immune system increases T2 helper cells to kill those viruses. But the unfortunate relationship is that it inhibits the T1 helper cells that fight viruses. So here, somebody already has a parasitic infection, and now they get, Epstein-Barr virus, and you go to the doctor, and the doctor says you have high titers of Epstein-Barr in your system. We got to give you stuff to kill that virus, but it doesn't do anything for the parasite, and the person feels better temporarily, and then it just comes back because your immune system can't fight it. So now you have an increased viral load, Epstein-Barr, herpes simplex 1 and 2, other retroviruses, which causes chronic fatigue. These people are very sensitive to everything. The mitochondria can't work, and they get more damaged. This is a continuation of it. Increased damage to the mitochondria, cells can't repair, toxins are deposited, brain, heart, kidney, liver damage, dysfunction, death of the cells. And here's the bottom line of this. If I poison you long enough, your genetic weaknesses are going to show up. If it's in the brain, you're going to have one of those named diseases that they call things like MS and ALS, and they call, dementia and Alzheimer's. It depends on what's making the toxin that's building up and where it is. And then they name it. Cardiovascular disease, kidney diseases are becoming really prevalent. Irritable bowel in the gut, other named diseases in the gut. And I want to show you why there is such an epidemic of parasite infections. It's because of the increased toxin. Remember that one graph where you have increased toxins and viral load and pathogen load, you're going to have decreased mitochondrial function. Well, we have all of these toxins already, which then makes it so we can't fight things like parasites, and we don't have all those toxins. We didn't have those toxins before. And I want to show you this. This is actually another option for people who have these chronic issues that they've taken every vitamin and herb and supplement known to man, and they still have problems. This is actually a stool test from one of my patients a week ago who contacted me through our training Zoom. And I'm going to zoom in on this. When we talk about bacterial overload, this can be life altering to find out what you got going in your gut. These are the good bacteria. These are the good guys. Notice that there's a number by them. This shows how much of this we have in our gut. Lactobacillus and bifido are supposed to be at least a 3 because they play a very important role, but I'm not going to go into that. But I want to show you these right here. They're not hurting her. They're not benefiting a person, but they're just taking up space. But look at this one. This one ferments things that you think are really good for you. Garlic and onion are the 2 worst things that you can eat if you have this bacteria in your gut. It ferments them and turns them into toxins.
Oh, wow.
Apples, peaches, asparagus, avocado. Those are things that you think are healthy, but if you have one of these types of bacteria in your gut, it's going to be very frustrating for either you or somebody else using the patches. It will take a really big boost with the X39 to boost your immune system and with glutathione long enough to be able to overcome that. So this is the kind of bacterial stuff that can affect people. So how do we get rid of these things? It's not all bad news. I mean, I already gave you some good news, right? Men use toothpaste and deodorant. I do have some good news for everybody. It's not all gloom and doom. There's one more thing from part of bad news, though. These things can live, all of them can live, the viruses, bacteria, and fungi can live inside of parasites surrounded by heavy metals. mold loves to live around heavy metals because it inhibits heavy metals that inhibit the immune system. And somehow they figured that out, or they're just chased there, and then the heavy metals will kill our immune system, so the immune system doesn't go there. So how does this relate to the patches? Well, things that you need to be aware of during patching: make sure the drainage funnel, ask them about how they're eliminating. You have to go really slow if mitochondrial function is poor. Parasites, killing these without heavy metal support makes a person feel much worse. So they're gonna want to actually get assistance for removing those heavy metals that are going to be liberated when your immune system starts killing the parasites. So the X39 and glutathione combination must be a minimum protocol in order to mitigate the symptoms of detox and the need to kill, and also the need to kill pathogens. The glutathione is the master immune switch. Let's remember that. And it helps with detox. What if a person's immune system has collapsed? This is problematic because the likely focus of the stem cells is first going to be to stabilize that person's system. Excuse me, it's not going to go to make, do a lot of repair or detox until that person's system is stable enough to handle all of that detox. Or if it does go and they start detoxing right away and they're trying to detox or liberating things out into the system and they can't detox, this is when they feel terrible. They're probably not going to respond really well and quickly, and they might feel worse. If a person's immune system has collapsed, the ability of the body to heal for the mitochondria that start making ATP for repairing and maintaining has everything to do with reducing the pathogen, so parasites, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and viral loads that are causing the collapse in the first place. So we have to remember that, and it may happen over time using the X39. The person's system must be stabilized first so that they can detoxify safely and without severe symptoms. And how is that done? You can start using the X39, the glutathione, and even AON, but use it really slowly. Don't have that person wear those things very long starting out. Now that's going to extend that out. Their time to getting better, it's going to extend that out. If they are able to make more ATP, if they're able to recover and their mitochondria get better, then it's going to speed up a little bit. But if they're not able to do that, it's going to be very frustrating. Severe and unpleasant symptoms can arise when this has not yet happened. Too much, too fast causes symptoms. And I'm sure everybody's seen that. Sometimes the pathogen or toxic load needs to be greatly reduced before the immune system can recover enough to fight on its own. The immune system and the mitochondria can recover, but it's a very delicate dance. And so I want you to know, what do I recommend to help with pulling things out like the viruses and the toxins? Fulvic and humic acid are usually combined. They're bound together, and people take it and it can detox the gut. If you, this can take, a load off the immune system. Humic acid can help detox the gut. It's normally bound to the fulvic, like I said. Fulvic acid, if separated, the fulvic acid can actually get inside of the cells and detox the cell of the viral load on the inside or heavy metals on the inside. Humic, fulvic together are slightly brown if they're not separated. So if you get a liquid fulvic acid and you look at it, and if it has a brownish color, it's not separated. It will help detox the gut, but it won't get into your cells. If they are separated, alone, fulvic acid acts like a semi truck. And when I talked about, you know, deficiencies of vitamins and minerals, and then you got to take more and more and more and more, and you're not absorbing well anyway, fulvic acid acts like a delivery truck. It actually pulls those nutrients out of your food and can deliver them into your system and your cells if they're separated. So alone, it acts like that truck. And I talk about how I've treated truckers over the years, and they say, yeah, I'm taking a load down to Florida, and they found me a load to bring back to Boise. So the fulvic delivers nutrients into the cell and then pulls toxins and pathogens out of the cell because it's really, really small if it's separate. So I already talked about that, but the goal is to get viruses and toxins out of the cells. And this can be helpful in, you know, you don't have to, you know, be a doctor, but you can say, hey, I suggest. You don't have to say you should, or here, give them to them. This is what I would recommend. Get some of this humic and fulvic acid. What is the way out for people who are too compromised and not able to progress with the X39? This may need more support in order to stabilize the system. First you stabilize, then you detox, and then you got to make sure that their mitochondria are working. And that can happen with the X39, the glutathione, and the other patches. But it may take that person a lot longer, and you just need to tell them, you know, your health is kind of, you know, way south, and we got a long ways to go to get you back up. Go it along or get some guidance. Find somebody in your area you trust who has knowledge of how to guide you through the process, stabilizing, detoxifying, fortifying. It's either you, or maybe you can look people up who do that sort of thing that you trust, so that you're not seen as you're making those recommendations. If somebody wants to reach out, like I said, I'm not looking for another job. But I can point people in the right direction. That's my email again. If people have any questions and want to reach out to me. So if you or someone you know needs the guidance, there it is. There are some specific protocols that they can follow. I want to leave you with this. I thought this was appropriate. The tragedy of life is not death, but what we let die inside of us while we still live. We in LifeWave seek to help people live out their life's fullest expression, however that is. And so I hope this gives you a little bit more in your arsenal, at least the knowledge when people are responding a little slower, know that it's their body is responding the best that it can. It's not the patches. We know that the patches work. You know, you can have 100% confidence in that. And going forward, you can make suggestions. If I were you, I would do this. If I were you, I would do that. So you don't, you know, get in trouble in prescribing things. So questions, reach out to me. Savvy and I have our trainings on Wednesday night. We dig pretty deep into this kind of stuff. And this was actually a deep dive. And I hope it came across with some clarity, and that you understand. If not, watch it again and share it with people so that they will understand how they can help their people as well. Thanks a lot. I'm going to turn it back. I don't know if I'm supposed to close it out, but I'm going to turn it back.
I got it.
Peter. Thanks for having me today, Peter.
Wow. Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Dr. Harmon. Thank you, Sarvis. I think everyone on this call today really appreciates this information. It just is another tool to make our muscles stronger every week and every month. So, and this recording will be posted up by Dr. Harmon on our Quantum Field X39 Telegram page, and we will upload it to our startx39.com on our website under Doctors Call. Okay, everything we do will always be recorded, and Everyone, you can unmute yourself and give Savi and Dr. Harmon a big, nice, warm round of applause.
Thank you.
Great information.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
They're great.
Happy Saturday. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, wonderful.
It's okay.